Hee ho hee ho hee ho hee ho hee ho hee ho hee ho. Hi everyone. Arthony Tictano here, the internet's busiest gamer. And it's time for a review, well, a Redux review of this new, or this Trigger Happy Havoc Danganronpa game and whatnot. This is a especially odd video. Um, it's a very odd video. Back in 2021, I did a closing thoughts video of this game, and it was at least 30 minutes long. And if I had to dip all my sandals in, is that I probably look back on it now that it wasn't very good. It wasn't that good of a thing, and I am now going to go ahead and say in my heart that since these past few years and whatnot, and with the finishing of Danganronpa V3 and whatnot, I think it is time that we go ahead to visit this project again and whatnot. It's it is a great thing. I'm hoping, and I think we need to do this game a favor and give it a proper closing thoughts. You know, fix it up tight, nice and neatly and whatnot. So yeah, um, where do we begin? Thank you, thank you very much. All right, so I think we should start with this game and its what it brought to the table. First of all, um, this is Danganronpa visual novel series, and this is the first one from its comparing to 2 and V3, and Ultra Despair Girls is a spin-off, and then the anime. Um, I think a good thing to start to this is that within Danganronpa series, it's a visual novel collection, and basically you go to characters and whatnot to talk to them. But in this game, basically it's a visual novel packed in with murder mystery, death, messages and whatnot, secrets, detective and whatnot. It is a very seasoned game in the franchise, being the first of its creation back in 2010, uh, which was released here at I think November and whatnot when the series debuted. And basically, my opinions of the game have basically changed over time since I played the rest of the series and whatnot. Um, but I think we could start off as the gameplay because there isn't much gameplay to it. But uh, for the game's sake in itself, is that what we have here is the visual novel talking to a character by simply moving the cursor over them, talking to them, moving to different rooms by using the cursor, using your focus mode to catch on to anything, to get possible mono coins and whatnot from it. Um, another thing is I think another thing that was quite interesting in here was the reaction things and whatnot. And basically, what that did was give like some more depth and detail to the conversations you were having with other characters and whatnot. Which I think, which was pretty much done away with in the next few. But like, I don't see why it wasn't. I feel like it would have created much more, interests in the characters. I think people will say that it doesn't, but I think that's highly wrong. Um, but you learn a lot more through the characters with the reaction ways, and it's quite sad that just basically trashed it, even though it was a really cool idea. It would have made Danganronpa V3 a 10 out of 10. But basically, and at least give Danganronpa 2 higher than a 5. Um, the the game also capitalizes off of the focus mode when you're doing investigations and whatnot, to play through or to figure out all the clues and whatnot, check every inch and cranny because the game wants you to explore everything, keep things in hand, keep them all in your mind. And overall, it's like it's a quite of an interesting experience that we continue on to the rest of the series and whatnot. And it was a neatly it was a neat idea and whatnot. Ace Attorney is very similar to this game. I mean, this game is more so very similar to Ace Attorney, but obviously differences are quite big and quite major. Overall, I think it's quite a game, to explore these things in its own different ways and whatnot. And I think good ops. I think the next thing to talk about is the Trials gameplay and whatnot. Um, this it was the first time and whatnot, so it's like it gets its own kind of things a little mixed up and whatnot. But generally, it's one of the most interesting design and details within going into the trial, because not only are you basically in debate and argument all the time until you find the killer and whatnot, but you basically have to explore the lies and whatnot through your own way by shooting truth bullets into a character's sentence that doesn't make sense. You also have the actual you can also scan the lines to make into your own truth bullets to shoot another truth bullet, and then the other thing is the white bullets, which shoot out those silences and whispers and whatnot, which is pretty cool, pretty neat. I think it's a very decent thing to go off of and whatnot. I think another kind of like add-on to Trials that they have is the trial mini games and whatnot. There's the incredibly easy Hangman's Gambit. Pretty simple. It was eventually upgraded to something worse in Danganronpa 2. It was bad in Danganronpa 2, and it was upgraded to something actually good, which was in Danganronpa V3. And they should keep that in. So V3 is the best game. I think like another really neat thing to hold on into the game is, or I think another mini game, if I can remember correctly, was uh, dang, it's kind of hard to remember what mini games were in Danganronpa 1. I do know the panic dance time thing and whatnot, or the rhythm panic thing, which was the simpler version of all before it went actually got on to be even more crazier in Danganronpa 2 and V3. But it was pretty neat system. It was pretty simple. Just tap your rhyming into the figure and whatnot. Just like a rhythm game. If you played the Heaven Heaven rhythm games, which were pretty cool. Rhythm Time Femur actually, yeah, the Rhythm Feeder games and whatnot. That was basically like that's pretty much like how if you tap on rhythm and whatnot. Then you have the comic book, which wasn't bad at all actually. It was pretty neat. It was pretty simple and it was pretty cool for its time. And then Danganronpa 2 fucked it up, and then Danganronpa V3 helped to their own case, which made it a lot better. Which was really neat. Um, I think another game in it was another game, which was probably hmm. I actually cannot remember what games were in Danganronpa 1. It's kind of funny, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's like whatever mini games I missed, probably just meh or just whatever and whatnot. But overall, like that's kind of the basis and whatnot. So yeah, that's like the gameplay portion and whatnot of the game. So now let's get on to the music. the music overall is probably one of the best things that fit into this atmosphere and whatnot. The atmosphere in Danganronpa 1 is much better than any other the series and whatnot because I don't want to be on a fucking beach. Danganronpa 2. That makes me scared and whatnot. So that's like it doesn't make me scared at all. It just makes me more relaxed, you know. And if I see a murder, I'm like, oh, there's a murder on this beach. Yeah, this island. And then V3 goes back to the whole school thing, but much larger and whatnot with a dome over us. You know, it's like wow. But yeah, Dawn for One really does fit that um atmosphere thing really well. You know, it's pretty neat to see kind of like how it goes for each character, and I do appreciate it overall within here. I think it is great and worth the time that it can be. Let's so the music also in the trials, it's pretty simple and whatnot, and like overall, it's really kind of the when you're not in the trial, at least like in the roaming or like investigating things and whatnot. Box 15 is pretty cool, pretty good. Box 16 makes it even better. But yeah, you have Beautiful Day, which is a beautiful, slow, sorrow-making piece. Um, and then you have Beautiful Days, which is a really nice, happy go time with your free time buddies and whatnot. So yeah, it's like it's pretty neat system and whatnot. Or it's pretty neat music and whatnot. It's not the best in the franchise. I think like something like Ikroshia from Danganronpa 2 is incredible compared to like Box 15 and 16. But I do it. But then there's fucking Despair Searching, which beats every investigation track. Like it's so good. And then like in the trial music, bam, Revival Edition from V3, so good. And you had the Scrum debate, so good. And yeah, it's like you know, it's quite neat, all in all. So I think I think like a new thing and whatnot is the I think a new thing and whatnot within the series is the or well, it's not a new thing. What am I saying? I was going off track. So a thing introduced into or that came along in this game that was also moved on to each other was the free time events to which you can go ahead and talk with your friends and whatnot. Some being on break, some being a sundeer on chapter 4, and and it's quite a interest. It's a very neat little system where you get to learn more about your characters that you like and whatnot. You know, your character has conversations with Makoto. You know, the most based person in the fucking series, basically. Um, and it's like having free time events and like learning more about characters really kind of just makes it a little happy. Some being so quiet and whatnot because they don't like to reveal themselves. And eventually, like if they survive, they get much more character and background in like their own things and whatnot in their own stories. But it's like it's really neat, learning about the characters that you like, and like kind of like seeing like how their personalities kind of change throughout the game and whatnot. And like the game like very much takes advantage of these friendships in chapter 4. Um, yeah. So I think another cool little thing in here is which is probably the I think the next thing to talk about is this probably the story and whatnot. The story is pretty interesting. Like comparatively, there's not much to build. There's a lot to build off of Dawn Number One, but there's not a lot in Dawn Number One because it's the first one, so it's like setting up a story. It's gonna be a little interesting, but I generally did really enjoy where the story was because it's felt so realistic and whatnot. Like you're just trapped in a school building, all these deaths are real and whatnot. But kind of the whole thing, is that you've been a student here for so long at Hope's Peak Academy with your classmates, and all these other people that you thought you were new to you were actually just your classmates and whatnot, and you lost all your memories, and whatnot. of your student classmates. You have to like make those new memories again and whatnot. But if you if they survive and whatnot, you get to learn, I guess, more, or I don't know, fucking kiss each other or something. But yeah, so I think like another pretty, but the story like also is like embargoed by the ultimate despair, which is spoiler alert, Junko Inoshima. Yeah, who saw that coming? I'm not joking. Who saw Junko being the ultimate despair? Each like chapter and whatnot also capitalizes kind of off of these stories and whatnot. I think like something that really interested me about like this game compared to the others and why like I kept thinking more and like kind of praising more of this game in the background was that like Danganronpa 1 everything happens. Like all of these things happen in the game and it's like it's not a simulation or possibly a simulation and whatnot or like a whole, just school trip fucking dream and whatnot. It really is like these deaths are real and they are not coming back. They've all died and it's like comparing that to the other two, it's like this game does it well, we don't know with V3 and whatnot. We know with Dawnpa 2 and we know why like freaking people who watched Dawnpa 3 were so mad that they didn't stay true to their message and whatnot and just gave the fucking Dawnpa 2 cast, a lucky shot at living, except Chiaki. But they didn't do that with Dawn 1, and they may not do that if they continue on after Dawn V3. They may leave those characters for dead in V3, whatnot, or not. They could do the same thing as 2 did, and make their game mad annoying to talk about. Um, so like basically, like, there's more story to go in within the chapters, so I think we can fill that in that process, and so let's get to it. Um, I think a really like neat thing, or what starts us off is not much story in the beginning because we aren't given much context at all. But basically, Makoto Naegi is a student who was one lucky student pageantry or something, the lottery, and he gets to go to Hope's Peak Academy. And basically, he goes in, but like everything's distorted and blurred, and he wakes up trapped in this school with the windows just covered up, bolted up, and all that fuzz and whatnot. And then Danganronpa or then and that starts kind of off our prologue, which we get to introduce ourselves to the remaining fucking 15 characters, and whatnot, which is no bitch, Aoi Asahina, Leon Kuwata, Byakuya Togami, Kiyotaka Ishimaru, Chihiro Fujisaki, Mondo Owada, Fatman, Yasuhiro Hagakure, Junko Enoshima, Celeste Ludenberg, Sakura Ogami, and that's everyone else. Yeah, and then we get introduced to Monokuma. Oh wait, I totally didn't forget about Kyoko Kirigiri. No, no, no. Uh, who is she again? Anyways, but basically, those are like our characters that are introduced in the prologue and whatnot. And I think like a really what kind of like all like envisioned by like all these characters, Sayaka immediately is like into Makoto, and I'm like, bitch, I ain't about that whole life. Um, but Makoto is, I guess, and whatnot. It's like you get some energetics, you get some fucking rash, fucking egotistical buckheads, and then you get the quiet ones that grow onto your character eventually later in the story. And then um like we move on to like the first chapter and whatnot when we're told by, Monokuma and it's fucking bullshit and whatnot. And then we are going ahead to the we go on ahead to basically our first motive, which is our family being like dead, and yeah, Makoto and Sayaka just fucking bolts out because emotions about her family, and then Makoto goes to comfort, and then that bitch is and then that bitch trying to toy with us. So then like basically later on into this game, we go on ahead to play fucking the first chapter, or we do our free time events. We go ahead and we fucking sleep, and then bam, Sayaka knocks on our door. Uh, tells us if we could, or we suggested we can switch rooms because someone was knocking on our door, quote unquote. And then we go to sleep in her room, and then we go to the cafeteria, and then she's not there. So then we go back into our room, and then we go into the bathroom, and bam, bitch is dead. So yeah, it's like Makoto, passes out because he sees a dead body, something he ain't ever seen. Now he will see that for the next 12 times. Um, actually, probably, like fucking 19 times. Fucker has had enough. How's he still sane after this? But yeah, so then we go ahead and we play fucking. We didn't go into the fucking gym because a murder has happened, and now the thing will be held in trial, and everyone suspects Makoto of doing the murder, but we know that Makoto didn't do the murder and whatnot. We ain't Kaede. But basically, when we go on ahead and we fucking put the shit in the shit and whatnot, we go ahead and we investigate everything, Kyoko, sending her to fucking detective skills, and telling Makoto to try and figure out stuff on his own, which is, things he. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm still so surprised that once it gets on to once the investigation where Makoto's clue is somehow he just fucking remembers everything and connects everything together in the trial. It's like people are gonna say it's probably just Kyoko and Byakuya. I mean, it's like no, like most of this, if you were paying attention, guys, is mostly just Makoto ended up fucking finding things out because we are playing in Makoto's spot and whatnot. And it's just like he figures the shit out like immediately once the trial starts. Like not when it's like an investigation time. No, it's when the trial starts and everything pieces together. This boy's fucking memory goes from 0 to 100 supremely quickly from the investigation to the trial. It's quite impressive, honestly. I wish I had that fucking capability to just not think much in the investigation and figure everything out. God damn. But yeah, so yeah, like that's basically the first trials because like the first trial is so baby easy that's forgettable because the one clue that Sayako wrote with her finger was that 11037, which was Leon, and Leon was the killer. Who could have saw that coming? And yeah, so that's the end of the trial. Leon gets hit with 1,000 baseballs. His body. Some of it didn't turn into mush. This is a pretty strong body, I guess. Who fucking cares about Leon anyway? So yeah, we move on to the second trial. We actually probably lose a likable character and whatnot. We go on to the second chapter. A new floor has opened up. Oh yeah, did I talk about the post cutscene? There was totally just a conversation between Makoto, while everyone else was just stunned, not saying anything, and like that's the start of this literal relationship with Makoto and Kyoko. It's just kind of ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. It definitely starts from that point on, and then it just skyrockets fucking for after it. Goddamn, what were they doing after fucking Danganronpa 1? Oh yeah, they're part of a shitty anime. The next thing, but yeah, so chapter 2 goes ahead into basically we go and open up new rooms. We find new stuff: the gym room, the pool that I wish I could have gone in. The library, um, the library, what it has is a Byakuya Togami checking out a room in the which is the archive room, and yeah, it's pretty cool, you know. As much as Byakuya is all about like you wouldn't stand a chance in there, motherfucker. I want to read what's in there. Get out of my way. Um, but basically, Byakuya becomes smug and says that this is a game and that we should not trust each other because it's the point of it's a game, which he ain't wrong. It's supposed to be a killing game, and yeah, and basically now he's not talkable to because you know he's in the library. Oh my god, I think I forgot about Toko Fukawa. But yeah, basically next up we have basically Toko goes into our room because she actually likes Byakuya Togami and is a fucking obsessed teenager with Byakuya Togami. To which I say no, reject that hoe, and basically, you know, we help out and get caught anyways because we're fucking tired of this shit, bro. Just want to go home, fucking. I don't know what to do home. I might as well just go outside and fucking take a jog. I don't know, but basically. Our next motive is the secrets and whatnot. And basically, if it takes 24 hours and no murder has occurred, a secrets will come out. And Makoto's secret, because he's so normal, is that he wet the bed until by the time he was in 5th grade, until 6th grade happened, and he stopped wetting the bed. Yeah. Aoi's also was Aoi and Ishimaru were also somewhat fine. We're actually somewhat fine with showing off theirs because like it's embarrassing, but it's nothing like big to them and whatnot. Like how it is for Makoto. No, but everyone else was like, "Fuck that shit," and just moved on because you know no one can take a shit to fucking get out of this place. Uh, and then basically that continues on like that point. But you know what's interesting is that Chihiro actually is expecting the thing to actually happen. You know, goes on to try to get better, you know, and try to become strong and take an idol, and then BAM! Chihiro's dead in the gym's locker room, the girls' room. Um, but yeah, the next thing is that now we gotta solve this murder, but instead, Byakuya is like, hey, you're coming with me. And we basically help Byakuya because, well, Byakuya more so just takes us to alignment to fucking tell us of what could happen and whatnot. And then, like, basically he leaves us, and then we just do our own things, figuring out things. And then Kyoko gives us a clue, you know, but we ain't checking it because, well, yeah. Basically, she checks dead bodies and whatnot because you know checking dead bodies is a good strategy to learn more truths and whatnot that anything could be hidden in there. You know, it's a thing that she does. Yeah. We don't check it, but we'll eventually check it another time. You know. Because yeah, I know it's weird to touch like a dead body. I mean, this is a school though, and you could get away with it. But like, yeah, I get it. Touching a dead body's pretty rare, pretty weird. But like, what else you gonna fucking do if you're out of clues? Fucking not gonna survive that way. So might as well try shit that you never expect would fucking work. Because this game delivers it upon things, and like the others don't get any better. Um. So yeah, that's that fucking chapter. So yeah. Uh, well, no, there's actually more to go. So we go through the trial and whatnot, and like, basically, what it's actually apparent is that like when we were going into the archives room of Byakuya to figure out the serial killer genocide Jack, that turned out to be Toko Fukawa or Genocide Jill or Genocide Seo. Other than that, Byakuya was actually toying with it to make the game more interesting, which is painful and you know fucking dumb, but like he wanted to make it more interesting because the culprit was you know easily more accessible, I guess. He didn't like how all the fucking how it initially was, which was apparently boring, but like honestly, if it weren't for him, like the trial would have been a lot more harder to fucking investigate. And because there's just not much on the ground, and he just made everything apply to it. So yeah, thanks Byakuya, I guess. But yeah, the real killer and culprit was Mondo Owada. He killed Chihiro Fujisaki. He was a boy, and yeah, you know, he died, and yeah, so that was chapter 2. Byakuya tells his reasons and why not, because he wants to win the game. You know, he wants everyone to not lose, but he also gives somewhat of a compliment to Makoto, who's saying that the one to look out for in a trial or murder is Makoto. Um, so yeah, there's that. So let's move on to the next thing. This next one is a bit interesting because, like, how it goes is that our main plot for the start is that we find a computer, or Aoi finds a computer, which is Chihiro's laptop and whatnot that he left over, which was his alter ego thing, or a system called alter ego. This is one of the most helpful systems in the series and whatnot, and it goes to really benefit everything until V3 kind of happens, to which it is shown for a bit, but then it's kind of done away because there's really no point for it, which is kind of sad, but it is kind of truthful that, like, there really is no more point for alter ego to really help out in the end, since this is Danganronpa V3. So basically, alter ego is a computer system that helps align itself, basically giving alter ego free roam outside of Chihiro's death. In which it's sad now because, you know, Chihiro's dead, and Chihiro's one of the most helpful assets, but unfortunately, as much as he is helpful, he has kind of a sad backstory and whatnot, and unfortunately he is dead because someone else had a sad backstory, because Mondo murdered his brother, and basically that's kind of our plot here and whatnot. Uh, we learn a bit more about characters and whatnot. Ishimaru, by the way, had a whole bond with Mondo, and I forgot to mention it. Mondo's in a heroic facade, basically. But then he awakens from the alter ego, and then Kyoko scolds Makoto, but, you know, that's just part of the fucking love train, I guess, we're gonna go on off of in this relationship. Um, but basically, you know, with much more like things, we all kind of like form a group outside of Byakuya and Toko, because Byakuya's still on his whole. We need to separate to make this game more interesting and whatnot. Before then, Monokuma's next motive is different from the other two, to which if you succeed in the murder trial, you get $10 million. Yeah. Basically, it's like, well, money is just money. I mean, it's cool and all, but it's like, I don't know about that, Chief. But yeah, it's like money's cool and all, but what it actually turned out is that it was a whole greed fest, because there was someone who was going to enjoy that money, and basically the next, basically alter ego and whatnot. Everyone's just doing their own things, protecting. Kyoko eventually protects alter ego because Fat Man is a bit of a creep, and but eventually alter ego is hidden away from us because the culprit needs the money, and basically puts us all in kind of a tight situation because now the culprit is planning a murder. Um, so this murder ends up happening around in the morning time, and it's all a huge getaway, runaway kind of distraction point, which was this thing. Now, initially, this is cool at first. This isn't a bad trial by means, but it isn't great either compared to the others. There's really not much of a story, though, I think, which is why people don't really like it. And it's also kind of, eh. It should be obvious at points. Like, the killer can be somewhat easy to get, and it just kind of makes the whole thing a little nuisance and whatnot. A lot of characters are being a little quiet and whatnot, you know, and everyone needs to be on the same page, which is Makoto's whole deal. Which is why Makoto's better than most of these characters. Like, I don't know what you want me to say, guys. But basically, it's like the whole kind of deal is that with this whole like chase and run around thing, it makes it to where there's supposedly an obvious culprit, and there's obviously people believing in that situation. Um, Now, generally, within this game, this trial, like I said, is not hard to grasp onto what's kind of possible. There's a lot of things that are possible. There is a lot of, like, situations where you get lost immediately. I think that's what this trial offers, is that if you're on the right track, it's easy, but if you do lose track, it's hard to get back. And but if you're able to just keep along the way, it should be easy to get who it is and whatnot. And in the end, it is Ishimaru and Fat Man who die in a double murder situation. And the murderer and the culprit of the whole thing and the mastermind of the the case of itself is Celestia Ludenberg, who wanted to basically run away with the money because her motive was that she was going to get her a dream of having a castle. Because with the money, it was possible to get it right away instead of waiting probably another quite a long years to get if she did come out alive from this killing game. Well, even then, we know what happens afterwards. So yeah, she dies. Her death is ran by truck, and yeah. Bondo, by the way, got turned into butter. But yeah, so the next. So yeah, and then in the post-aftermath cutscene, Kyogo's like, y'all go to the cafeteria, I'll go through here. Byakuya is very questionable and is rather, no, you're not doing that, we're fucking coming in. But then Makoto is like, here, I'll watch from this point on. And then, he's just like, okay. And then now he's like, damn. And then it was like, and then just walked back into the cafeteria. So in this whole little thing, it's like Kyoko is just questionable why Makoto's there, but Makoto believes in Kyoko. Well, nah, he wants to fucking, be a rag team of people, You see where I'm getting here with this? And, basically, she tells him of a secret room in the boys' bathroom, In comics, what we would say is that they wanted to bang. And basically, he goes in there, he finds a lot of things, stuff, that Kyoko doesn't mention anything in there. It's like, Jesus Christ. I get it. She's very secretive, very distant. But then they make her very attached to Makoto later on. But then Makoto is knocked out! And then everything's gone. And, he found a note and whatnot of some proportions. But then he hears clashing, banging stuff. And it's Sakura, Ogami, and Monokuma battling each other. To which Makoto figures out that Sakura is our supposed traitor. And, basically, when he goes ahead and whatnot, and, goes back after a pounding headache and stuff, almost dying, he goes back to the cafeteria with the gang to explore new stuff, and, and then, like, he has a different look to Sakura, and one person is concerned. You can guess who that one person fucking is. And basically, we explore this new room, and we're gonna go ahead into basically the music room with a piano. Rest in peace, Kaede. She'd be dead, and Shuichi gotta carry the whole game for himself. Anyways, but basically, Kyoko Makoto, me and Kyoko tells him about the room, being her whole philosophy of boys are strong, independent, and right. She definitely falls in love with him after this, and stuff, and like, Hyogo's rude to fucking Makoto, but it's like, it's kind of, when you compare like two characters that start talking to each other more and more, there's just more like personality shown off the character who is more distant than the somewhat, social boy that has nothing going for him, thinks he's just boring and whatnot, and just thinks he has nothing, just doesn't stand a chance, compared to everyone else, thinking he's weak. And yet they do this shit again in V3. But, funny enough, to me, even if this is all kind of, even if this is repeated twice, to me, this made for one of the, like, two of the most best characters in the franchise to me. And it's like, presenting like that, Makoto doesn't reveal to Kyoko because he doesn't want to like cause anything wrong. He wants to talk to Sakura on his own behalf, so he hides it from her, and she's just pissed. She's more emotional than we have ever seen her and whatnot. She's just pissed as hell, and she fucking ignores Makoto like a sun deer would do, and basically now it's like everyone is very much active on the whole thing between the two, and like as if Makoto is the huge bad guy in all of it. Great. I just figured I have those people. But then it gets worse because Byakuya is more so as like we should not trust Sakura now because Monaco revealed that she is the traitor. And also that Makoto fucking knew about it. And it's like yet again, like nothing is happening between Makoto and Kyoko. I didn't even check if you tried talking to Kyoko in her free time events, but she probably said something along the lines of fuck you. And basically how it would be is that how it kind of like happens eventually is that like there's so much battles going on that that Aoi slaps Byakuya, Kyoko warns Byakuya, and then it's like then Toko and Aoi get into a fight the next morning and whatnot, and then like afterwards it's like they all hang up in the nurseries and that stuff. There's like 4 people in there, then there's 3 people, then there's 1 person, then there's 2 people in there. And you could fucking remember who it was. Basically, Makoto makeup. Kyoko was still absolutely annoyed, calling Makoto, selfish and whatnot, arrogant and stuff. All these mean things. And instead, she's overreacted with fucking blush marks. Jesus, Danganronpa or fucking Spike Chunsoft stuff. You're all about this, but Kyoko needs Makoto's help and whatnot. And now she is much more, serious, more pushy on him. That's just what we call love. Tough love. And but basically now it's like a whole thing where the two are much more active. I should really stop talking. And yeah, that's like chapter 4 goes on to that point, and they hook alter ego up into the cables and the internet. No, and then Makoto goes to sleep and takes his nice ass nap, and like questions why Kyoko just moves on her own. Yeah. But then Kyoko goes into his. But then the Kyoko knocks on his door, telling him to come and hurry up to, the AV room and whatnot. To which we see Sakura in there, trapped in that room and whatnot. It looks like she's fucking dead. So then Makoto takes the fucking broom, because he's a boy, and Kyoko, just fucking probably looking over him every time, trying to look at that ass. And basically he fucking knocks it through. Also, did I forget that if you get a certain item in the gift shop and whatnot, which is a man's fantasy, Makoto will poke in and fucking look at Kyoko's ass? Yeah. So we go ahead and we move into the. So we go ahead and Sakura's dead as fuck. She fucking dead. That Aoi's fucking speechless and whatnot. Kyoko is checking her body, and everyone's in, ready to check in and stuff. And Byakuya, because he is very confident, basically forces Kyoko into a position to not move from wherever she is and whatnot, to where Makoto has to do his work for her with a few helpful things and whatnot where she can. And basically the next things go on, Byakuya is more confident in himself. So then we go on to the trial, and I'm gonna say right now, this is the game's hardest trial to beat. There's a lot of things going on within this trial. There's fake culprits, there's fake movements, there's huge just discretions and whatnot. Like there is 3 fake culprits, and then the finale of this whole trial is that Kyoko absolutely destroys Byakuya in trial, and Sakura turns out to have killed herself thanks to Makoto, actually, also figuring out those trials and not just Kyoko, because Byakuya is fucking dumb. He's not actually dumb. He's pretty smart, but even then, he's not the smartest at figuring out murders if it's clear that Makoto and Kyoko could do it. But yeah, it gets on to that point. So then it goes into like afterwards. It's basically the huge lore dump drop is hit when Sakura tells the group that everyone has lost their memories and not just Kyoko. Just Kyoko has lost a bit more because the mastermind would do that shit. But basically, everyone has lost their memories of this whole thing, and that everyone is actually amnesiac in here. And so now a lot of questions are up in the air because Sakura has answered a lot of them. So more answers have been solved, and more questions come out of them for the next two chapters to solve. Unfortunately, though, Chapter 5 is more of a mixed bag because it's basically a pretentious lead up to Chapter 6. Even if it's not that bad, there's not much going on in Chapter 5, so I'll keep scenes. But basically, the end of Chapter 4 is that Kyoko yet again goes into Makoto's room and whatnot, trying to, you know, sit on him and whatnot and stuff. And, basically, getting on into this whole, like, game and stuff, we're ready to basically explore what is Chapter 5 into Chapter 6 and whatnot. I also just realized that, like, this is 45 minutes in, and I still have characters to talk about. Oh no. But yeah, so the story goes on from chapter 5 and whatnot. Basically, what chapter 5 is that we explore more. Kyoko's, and Makoto, she kind of like is like, let's talk about this in another place and whatnot, and stuff like that. Trying not to show her ass off again. And basically, it's like Byakuya is suspicious of her and whatnot, so he was giving him her keys because she's fucking based and whatnot. And basically, going into it, it's like Hyoko's kind of gone from the group, but she asked for Makoto's help more on so that she can continue on. And Makoto's worried about her because fucking love. And basically, what it goes on is that Makoto ends up getting a fever, and he gets so sick that he passes out in his room and is on the brink of death when someone with a knife comes in. Then Kyoko comes in and stopping the action, looks at him, starts fucking thinking of what to do to him in bed or something, but then has to leave again, back into the fucking gateway, and because Makoto helped her get into a hidden room because she stole a key thanks to Sakura's help and whatnot, and Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student, lying hidden somewhere in this academy, the one they call the Ultimate Despair. Watch out for her. And basically now that when we get on to the the investigation, it's like because Makoto's just so sick. Turns out everyone's been diffusing the Monokuma in the gym because Monokuma hasn't been talking. Because what it turns out is that person was the mastermind and that was trying to kill Makoto and fucking probably pin it. And actually, it was to pin it on Kyoko because she went missing and whatnot, and she was a threat. And Makoto would be another one to get out of the way because Makoto would be able to solve these fucking trials still, even without her, because he would take her instincts probably. That's just what Makoto would do when you're looking for love. And when it gets on to like this next kind of thing, or when it comes on to what is it? It's gonna end up coming around to to the chapter 5, to which we investigate a lot of places. A lot of places are pointing towards Kyoko's thing, but Makoto knows that it couldn't have been Kyoko no matter what. I think. There's actually some contemplation because of that key in her hand, and that, funny enough, you can actually become out on the top. You can actually get out on the top one if you're Makoto in here and whatnot. You get a hilarious scene in the trial, but you can actually beat Kyoko here and whatnot to show that Makoto has this fucking hidden talent of his and something. I don't know, this boy. Like I said, bro. Like I said, he has some of the most craziest fucking in these trials from the investigation, bro. He figures shit out on the blast. But yeah, so then we go on to the trial and whatnot, because of this murder of Mukuro Ikusaba, and basically what it becomes is a whole fucking battalion between either if it's Makoto or Kyoko and whatnot. And it also becomes a love affair between the two. And like eventually in the end, it's like once it's like the clues are kind of run out, Makoto starts fucking calling this whole trial out. That's all bullshit. That this game makes no sense. That Danganronpa is fictional. That Samugi Shirogane is the mastermind. And basically, Monokuma calls times up because they took too long, And Kyoko herself is also like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. And Monokuma's like, hell nah, and then everyone but probably Kyoko, I don't know, probably didn't vote for his ass. Because, love. And so Makoto is sentenced to execution, but his lucky fucking bullshit powers ends up saving him thanks to Alter Ego. And Alter Ego is upset. And then Monokuma's like, he's probably dead anyways. And then Makoto, or then Kyoko, being confident but probably just crying in her head and whatnot. And it's like, she goes down there to go and rescue him and whatnot because he's got no key, and she brings him food because the power of love and whatnot. God damn, I need to get my balls dug. But basically, this the next okay. The next thing is that Makoto and Kyoko go through this long talk. Kyoko is the ultimate detective, we didn't know that when it was probably obvious in fucking chapter 2. And Makoto's like, hey, we could use that key on that door, that you still have. And she's like, okay. And then, Makoto climbs up the ladder first because Kyoko doesn't want him looking at her panties. And, basically, they go up there, Kyoko convinces Monokuma, to not Makoto, instead go for another trial, for Mukuro Ikusaba, and the gang is still questionable, but is also happy that Makoto's there, but he smells like garbage, and his tears just go away because, he's ready to pull the Mac 11 out. Kyoko's still close to him. And, we basically investigate the entire school, and Kyoko is yet again very emotional because she found that her father is dead. She's been having fucking father issues. Though she's about to have fucking father relationships with Makoto. But basically, she's like, "Hey, Makoto, could you please leave?" And then he leaves because he knows that she's feeling a whole different kind of emotion, and whatnot. Just slowly, just sitting in there until she finds something. But then Makoto finds another thing, and it's her diary, and it's pictures of her and Makoto. And it's like, oh damn shit. And yeah. But then Monokuma calls everyone for photos and whatnot, and it's like, yeah, Makoto visiting everyone, learning more about Mukuro Ikusaba, learning about the data panels, learning about the biolab, learning about Hiro not making a fucking clue, and Toko being Toko and whatnot. And then Kyoko visits the biolab with Makoto, and then they're checking everything out and stuff. Even though Makoto's pretty much already checked out this entire building to go along with, but Makoto tells her about this notebook, and then she's surprised too, and then she hands him this fucking tape, and then he's like, okay, I'll take this tape, and he goes in there into the one room, I guess, where you put on the tape, and then he watches it, and he watches everyone, and then, why is Kyoko also saying the same things to her father? Doesn't she, not like him? And then it's like, whoa, it cuts out before Junko is seen, and then it's like, oh shit, and then it's like, this fucking game is fucking bullshit, Monokuma, fuck you. And then it's like, wow, let's go into this next trial. And then in this next trial, it's Makoto and Kyoko being the only sane ones, with Toko somewhat being another sane one, because she didn't see the photo either. Well, it's her in Genocide Jack Jill form, so it's like, it works that way, because, she comes out being actually pretty helpful in this trial. But, next up, we have, this trial, and everyone's so confused and whatnot, saying that everyone's pulling a prank on them. Anyways, I'm scratching my ear. I'm getting close to being this crazy in real life, and it's next thing you know, Shawty got low, and okay, basically everything's going on. We're figuring out who this murderer is and whatnot, and the real culprit is actually Junko Nishima, who killed her sister with her fucking 7 spikes from JoJo, and basically Junko was the mastermind the entire time because she's the ultimate despair along with her sister and whatnot, and her sister had to go because she was being lame and fucking yeah and stuff. After all, she's also a valid supporter of Naegi, so yeah. But basically Junko with her fucking flag of, Makoto and Kyoko and her fucking football hand point finger and whatnot. No, she tells about the whole thing that she set up with her sister and that we did this whole thing, you know. We're gonna make you all feel despair. But Makoto is like, hell nah, and fucking tells that bitch no, and basically convinces everyone to get out of despair, you know, because they all lost their memories because they were all part of this Hope Speak Academy for 2 years. You know, they were all students, well, not in the same class, you know, being in these students relatively and more proof and more pracking and you know and whatnot. More of the people being fucking stunned, you know, these photos being them in fucking school and whatnot. All of this stuff, all of that stuff, in everything is so cool, so blasted, so big, so insane, so crazy, so wow, what a cool ass trial, honestly. This trial is definitely one of the best trials in the series, you know. I cannot consider it better than V3's final trial because V3's final trial is much better than people say it is. And yeah, it's just so much better. It's just better. It's so good. Anyways, but yeah, it's like they all beat Junko and Ashima, well, really Makoto did, and basically now they're ready with the button, you know, to head outside. Junko gets a warning though that basically the place that the outside world is fucking terrible right now, and also she gives mention that they can't go back because she will turn because when she dies, the air purifier will die, so it'd basically be bad to live in there for after the next few days. And so, yeah, but don't worry, they'll turn the school into a little place again in fucking anime. Um, and yeah, and the fucking headmasters Makoto and Kyoko because you know they love each other. But yeah, so with that on the way, that's the story. That's Side Rebuild, and they're going to rebuild the place that they can, you know, make the place better, you know, and you know Kyoko saying that she wouldn't be able to move on without Makoto. Where am I getting along with this? And yeah, yeah. So that's the story. So now it's time to talk about every character that I fucking yeah. So let's do this hand style because we gotta be quick with this, you know. Sayaka MAIZONO is a bitch. I don't care about her. Her reasoning to kill Makoto is not valid to protect her and whatnot, or give reasons why. Like it's not enough to convince me. I'm not being in denial. It's just it's not enough. Like we don't have much we can't have much sympathy for this character simply because even if like what she did to maybe like point the crime towards Leon because that's what did it to her trying to kill Leon and trying to pin it on Makoto and like it's still getting on Makoto's ass and whatnot because she was in the room, how that's like that's not enough, bro. This is not enough. It's not cool, okay. This is some dumb shit. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's Sayaka. She dies in first chapter. Leon, who? Um, the next up is Mukuro Ikosawa, who? But then we get the next few, which is Mondo, Owada, and Chihiro. Chihiro is a boy. All right, is a very lovable character in the series. I personally I respect what they did with this character. I really do respect what they did with this character. And I really do appreciate that people do this more often. You know, if they want to feel comfortable in it, and like I would be totally fine if they did it again. You know, but generally in personality terms and whatnot, I didn't have too much care for Chihiro personally. I respected their decision to try to be more of this person, and even if they were already a different, like they were being someone else because they didn't think they were strong enough. They can be strong enough to persevere through on life. If you feel more comfortable in a female's clothing, then do it. If you're a female feeling more comfortable in male's clothing, then do it. Do what you desire. Be that person that you want to be. Be happy in life. Alright, we just got through a whole controversy of Chris from Mr. Beast, okay? We need to understand shit. Anyways, let us go. Otherwise, Chihiro, I didn't have too much to relate with, and I had not much care. It's like I'm happy if all these characters survive, but like Chihiro's just one of those characters who's like, yeah, it's cool and all, but like I don't have much really to go off of you. I'm not gonna lie. It's like I'm not gonna visit you a lot of the time. All right, it's not. Mondo Owada is a bike gang person who killed his brother on accident and whatnot. More so, his brother actually came in to save him and whatnot. He was so pissed, he was so sad, and his anger and whatnot, which made Chapter 2 really cool and whatnot in this game. And he killed Chihiro because just the amount of pain growing off of his back. Two kindred souls. Yeah. And, yeah, so, yeah, it's Mondo and Chihiro and whatnot. Mondo also wanted to be a carpenter and whatnot to fix everything he broke and whatnot. Bike gang leader, like if he moves on, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna leave this behind, and I'm gonna do what set to satisfy. He's also a huge dog person, so it's pretty cool. So next up we have Fat Man. And we have Ishimaru, which is a character I did wish to live on because him and Mondo had a huge brotherly bond in the span of one day. And basically, like when Mondo killed Chihiro, that broke Ishimaru and whatnot. But Ishimaru, striving on to take Mondo's words from alter ego, to strive to be someone else for this character development to be absolutely crazy. But then they killed him off. They killed him off because of him and Batman's things and whatnot. Because of this fucking rivalry. And Chihiro and no, Celeste, the culprit, took advantage of that and took advantage of us. Because yeah, why not? Because you don't truly care for anyone else in there. Even though that was not the truth when you were a student. But yeah, that was that thing. So, Ishimaru is the ultimate moral compass. He's very school thing. He doesn't like to be called genius because his old man was genius and then he failed, and whatnot. And he's very big. He's big on school rules. Even asking Makoto to take his coat off because it's too cool. Makoto was like, "No, I really do like this coat, and I know someone else likes wearing my coat." And basically, uh, the whole kind of like thing within like between Ishimaru and others is that like he is a genuine really nice guy. It's like he has all these things, but he's looking out. He's always looking out for them. And this heroic facade, but noticing that like he's got to like take this within stride and and understanding, making mistakes, like it's human and he's one of the most human people out there, really. And unfortunately, he just goes out. They kill all of his character development, and it's so sad. So yeah, there goes Ishimaru and Celestia. Whoo! So yeah, then we get on to Sakura Ogami, and Sakura Ogami is another character I really wish they didn't kill off. Sakura Ogami is a really strong, and very kind-hearted person, and whatnot, and was always defensive and had a big bond with Aoi. And Aoi, once noticing what happening to Sakura and whatnot, and everyone just getting on Sakura, once she noticed that Sakura's dead, Aoi's plan to make chapter 4 to get everyone killed because no one was getting on her side, no one was believing in Sakura, and basically in the end, Aoi was pissed and furious and want everyone to kill themselves now. And so basically, um, but yeah, so Sakura was this big heart spirit who also had a love of Kenichiro, who was suffering from cancer. Um, and she didn't believe herself to really be the strongest because she was the world's best. She was the martial arts ultimate. But she didn't believe in that because Kenichiro was particularly the strongest one under that same belt. Was just underground more and ended up having cancer. So that's how she became the most strongest one because he had to leave and he had to get out because emergency, his life is in danger. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the thing, and basically, what's the other thing? So yeah, Sakura was this big, can just be, lovable big muscle person that had a big bond with Aoi, who also was the traitor because Junko Enoshima had her family in hostage, and she had to listen to what Junko was doing. So yeah, Sakura ended up having to go, and she sacrificed herself for a group because she noticed Byakuya was like, no, screw this. This is a game. You need to go. And I'm going to run away from you and incite the same in others and do my best to fucking make this as easy for me to win as possible. And then, Trial 4, changed that in him. But yeah, as he realized he was about to get the group killed. But yeah, so that's Sakura Ogami. Alter ego. But yeah. So next up we have the cast of characters. So now, whenever I do it at some point, I may make a character tier list off in this game. It's going to be a long ass video. I'm actually may just separate into different parts and whatnot because there's actually going to be a lot more talk of me doing it and whatnot. It's like I do think this like the best thing to really like do for now is like the characters that I am going to talk about a lot are going to be the last few ones, and the characters in this second half is like the ones I'm not going to talk too much about. So Yasuhiro Gakure is the ultimate clairvoyant, and he is the most surprising survivor of the group. And overall, Hiro is quite interesting. You know what's also kind of funny is that, like, maybe aside from Aoi, Eren didn't get anyone that he truly liked to survive this killing game. He was unlucky compared to Dan, who had, like, fucking Hiro and Kyoko that he really did like. I'm pretty sure. But otherwise, so, the, Uh, basically, Hiro is the ultimate clairvoyant who turns out to be on the run because he invoked a certain person in a yakuza who may or may not be Fuyuhiko. And he is on the run. I can't remember if it actually is the ultimate yakuza and whatnot, but he had a sister who we put a lot of money, I think, out of, or someone, just someone. And if it is the ultimate yakuza, if I'm right, then Fuyuhiko is oh my days. But yeah. The next case is that another thing is that he's the oldest of the group. He's in his 20s during this point. And he has a mother who is alive. Like, she is alive by the end of this fucking series, which is crazy and it's cool. But yeah, he has a motherly figure, who is out there and whatnot. Who is much more wiser than Yasuhiro. But hey, she's the she is a person who's birthed a ultimate. So yeah, congrats. So yeah, Yasuhiro Hagakure is that position and whatnot. Otherwise, like I said, probably more to talk about this character in another time if I do a tier list of sorts. But yeah, he invokes Makoto to get all to put his organs in, but Makoto's like, what the hell is wrong with you? So yeah, there we go. Next up is Aoi Asahine, Ultimate Swimmer Pro, who is all about her, being different than a lot of other people, but Makoto, snaps her out of that, and also, I'm just kidding. But she's like basically the neighborhood girl, and whatnot, and she's one of the most realistic characters in the series, most definitely. Um, she is quite airheaded, like the airheads candy, but she is one of the most. She's definitely like one of the more. She's there to like make a happy time, and she's pretty emotional. But a lot of characters in the series are emotional, and yeah, it's pretty neat with how this game goes. And like I think another thing is like I think kind of like another like major thing really within in this game, and kind of or I think another thing major within Aoi is that like her role in Chapter 4, she has a big role in Danganronpa 3's anime and whatnot. And I've already said it's a shitty anime. Well, the truth is that the Spare arc is a shitty anime. The Future arc is not that bad, but still has a lot of problems. And the Hope arc is, well, it's a Hope arc, and it's better than the Despair arc, but it's like, what the fuck? Um, so yeah, that's really kind of it, for Aoi Asahina, other than she's a survivor as well. So now we go on to the other. So Toko Fukawa, I'm going to be honest, is that because I've already given my character to her, you can go ahead and check out, um, you can go ahead and check out Toku Fukawa on my Ultra Despair Girls closing thoughts, because I'm talk about her a lot there, and she doesn't have much here besides she's Genocide Jill. She's the ultimate novelist. She has a love for Byakuya Togami. She had a little bit of a part in Chapter 4, but other than that, she wasn't really there much. But her role went from like just a minor survivor in the series to a huge character in the series thanks to Ultra Despair Girls. So yeah, there is that. You should check out Ultra Despair Girls if you want more of my opinion on Toko Fukawa. Other than that, we have Byakuya Togami. Okay, Byakuya Togami. One of the most developed characters in the series. Unfortunately, doesn't have much of a role in Danganronpa 3's anime. But generally, Byakuya Togami is the ultimate affluent progeny who basically, his family is kind of like served on higher arcs and basically battle royales and whatnot of each other to see who is the strongest and who will help take care of the Togami Corporation. He is an insanely rich man. He is taking advantage of daily trading in the stock market. You know, he's really smart. He is very smart, but he's not the smartest in the class trials, as has been proven in Chapter 4, and Chapter 5 a bit. And basically, he has one of the biggest character developments due to the fact that for how smug he is and how he's still somewhat smug, he kind of learns more at face value about kind of having people in that life to help you around, you know, and stuff. As much as I can say that he may not be a top tier in my eyes, he is one of the best characters in the series. I think I think truly like I had a big liking to Byakuya. But like even if I can't find him as great as like 12 or 11 characters and whatnot, I still appreciate this guy a lot. I think Byakuya Togami really does have it in him to really kind of care about uh his loyal assets that he has with him right now, which is this group, and it's really neat. I think particularly it's like giving a part of hands is that as much as this video will probably not have like really any editing besides on the audio, because this is recorded on a Sunday, and it's gonna be probably uploaded on the Sunday, the 30th of April, and I will do my best to keep up with myself soon, guys. I will do that. But Byakuya Togami also is kind of like, he's interesting to see what Makoto is capable of. He tests Makoto out a lot of time, and he notices that like eventually that him and Kyoko are a lot closer at times and stuff. Just like he eventually turns from like this smug, you know, he's like, I'll be there to see how you are, you know, to test you even more and more if I become the black. But then he's more so on the lines of, you know, this guy is much more interesting, even for someone who's interesting. And it's like he even calls Makoto a lot more loser in like his final Freetown event. I think possibly because of this whole like he's so weirded out by how many times Makoto's visiting him. He's just so like, how can a person this carefree come to me? Like, am I truly down, or is this person finding this much interest in me and whatnot? I don't like, if I were to ever read Yaoi between these two, which I won't. No, I don't swing that way. But like, it's quite interesting to see just how, if you're at Byakuya's perspective, he's just so weirded out, and it seems uncomfortable that he has to resort to loser, which it's like it's clear it's not shaking off Makoto to where he's gotta walk away because it's like he's just he's like he's surprised at how like past Makoto is, and like he's never dealt with someone this before, and it truly gets to him after this show and whatnot, or after the Killing Game, and it's like, I truly am hanging out with this person much more than I ever thought I would, and it's just so it's great, and it's something to really look at more often. So now we get to our final two of this game: Kyoko, Kirigiri, and Makoto, Naegi. So starting off with Kyoko, a lot of people put this character as the true triumphant of this game, and I disagree with that. I think Kyoko is very helpful. I think she really is pretty. Um, she is one of the biggest stars in the trials and whatnot. But generally, a lot of the time it is left to Makoto to put these pieces together, because like she can figure it out, or she wants to like be on that same wavelength as Makoto, and that it makes more sense to be more of a tag team than one carrying the other. And it's like, I think that's what they try to get at later on in this show, that like these two become much more helpful to each other, and that like in the shitty anime of Danganronpa 3, it needs to be stopped, but like it doesn't stop them clearly, because they both out alive making out of each other. Other than that, Kyoko Kirigiri is another hugely developed character. Now, I must be honest, even if there's these huge developed characters within this game and whatnot, if I had to go through and say who I think is the most, you know what? Here, I will go back on that journey after we've talked about every character, because we'll be done soon with this video. But Kyoko Kirigiri is the ultimate detective. She's left as the ultimate question mark, but her talent is the most obvious of the three that have been left question mark, because it's pretty obvious what she does. And so, like, basically, with Kyoko is that she's this distant, but she grows more out of her shell later on that this game goes on for her. This is why chapter 4 happens, because when she's more like open to Makoto, she feels just she feels betrayed and whatnot, and it like to the point where like she just storms off the room and whatnot because she's angry, and like these emotions are getting to her, and something that she thinks that she's able to control of. But it's like, if someone like Makoto, who is just this passive, is able to break you, then it's the fact that you're probably very stoic to the public eye, but it's like once someone's close to you, it's a lot harder to control. It's like it's like being stoic is cool, but it's like it's not unimpenetrable. Like truly, in the end, there's gonna be that one person who like either cares for you or either hates you. But if like in this situation, it's someone that like is caring for you and whatnot, that is truly like impassioning you and whatnot. And it's that one person that you're letting get them somewhat close to because they believe in you, and that's the one person that lets you just act so much differently than anyone else would expect you. That you're that pissed at that person that once it comes down for y'all to talk to each other about the situation, you're still somewhat disappointed, but yet it's the most open you've been in a long time, thanks to that one person. So it's like this development between her and her emotions and whatnot is huge within the series, and it's like it's pointed out later in the anime by that fucking hat boy and whatnot, who's been in her life a lot too. But it's like, she is more capable, but it's like it's clear that like he knows that it's like he's gonna maybe try to fucking see it through. But like that one person that he does have to like look out for probably in his way is probably Makoto. Because that's the one person who's been around with her for so long now after that first killing game. That's the one person that she has her most eyes on, her most feelings attached to. It's like, even if you don't think you can see it and whatnot, it's clear that I think a lot of the time, what people don't believe in this ship is like, people don't believe in the ship maybe because of Makoto. Like, I think a lot of the time it's Kyoko trying to fucking get close in here. But even then, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case, alright? I think the truth of the matter is, these two definitely speak of their feelings to each other in this series. I know a lot of people don't even like imagining that fucking Danganronpa V3's final trial or Danganronpa 3 anime in of itself is a possibility, but that's the truth. It is something that Danganronpa V3 wants you to fucking know. You cannot be in denial of this. And like, Danganronpa 1 helps set the events and helps play into these events. And Kyoko is this character that's very much in between it. It's like, she is this character that grows on, She is like this emotional. She is one of the smartest people in the series, Like, she is really smart. But she's also pretty caring at times. She's strict, But like just within these scars in her hands that have like troubled her and whatnot, and that she doesn't want that same thing again, it's just like it's like an addiction, There's gonna be one person that fucking that like hurts her in her fucking hands and whatnot, and then she's gonna like say the stoic thing, and then she's gonna be more emotional to this another person, and it's like it's gonna be that same thing. But maybe she can finally find relaxation with Makoto, not all these chicken shit fucking art 34 artists, ruining shit. Fuck you. It's like, no, this is what we came for. Just not for like, okay, it's not what we came for. This is what we came to watch and play this game, and this is the things we're gonna get. Okay? And like, Kyoko in of herself is really smart. Alright? One of the best trial people in the trial. She is quiet in chapter 2. I have no reasons why, but it's like, it's assuming as if like people aren't gonna listen to her and are gonna listen to Makoto and whatnot. But like, or may, I don't know, give Byakuya the front stage, But as in for that stuff, she's distant and whatnot, but like more as in time, when her character and her stuff, she has that confidence to do what is her thing. And like, for what it's led to what we have now, she seems much more complete as a human, much more relaxed, more happy with these people. She'll still have like her cold glares, and she'll still like be this powerful person, in front of these others. But she it's going to be easy for her to be more emotional towards those of her friends that she talks to, those that she's more open to, because they've been with her for this whole time. And it's just these people that she came along with in this killing game, this people that helped her grow more and more, to give her a helpful and more, just be more social with people. This is how like a character goes on from this point. It's like Byakuya in his own terms, and it's like we aren't even done talking about all these characters, because within Kyoko and stuff being like one of my favorite characters in the series and whatnot, we then have Makoto Naegi. Okay, so I get it. A lot of people complain that Makoto doesn't have much of a personality in this game or in the series, but then eventually it goes on into Danganronpa 3 where he's a lot more developed and whatnot, because he still keeps on to those pulses of just how he feels useless to everyone. By the end of this game, he's considered the ultimate hope by, Kyoko and whatnot, and it's clear by the fucking final game, and it's clear that she doesn't want him to lose out on everything. She is caring for him. She is trying not to have him lose himself and whatnot. It's like it's this moment of just trying to comfort someone. To the point where you've shown your hands more to him than any other person because you trust them. You have more faith in them, and it's like Makoto like helps try to keep Kyoko in his arms probably too. It's like he tries to keep the group in steady. He is this team player that the group needs. The group rejects him, but yet he is one of the most helpful assets of the group in the entire thing. And it's like this ends up being not the only time they do this with like another character and whatnot. That's just so kind of worried about his own self, as if he's going to be just wasting the weather. It's like Celestia points that out, but it's like I don't think that's the truth with some of these other characters and whatnot. Like they keep quiet, but it's clear that some of them like just they don't feel that way about Makoto because Makoto's been helpful in all of these surroundings and whatnot. Makoto's been able to catch these people, and it's like off guard. He is this wild card and whatnot, and like this wild card helps save him as like he goes from the lucky student to the ultimate hope with still some of this luck factor into him, which I think what this luck factor truly is fucking plot armor. It is plot armor out the ass, and it's what helps him solve these trials and fucking gets the culprit absolutely smashed and stuff. And so, just what I love about this and what I truly enjoy about this series, and then like I truly have a heart within it, but like Makoto helps there. It's like, he sees himself boring, but like what he really is just he's this social person. Like he's he relates to a lot of these casts, he tries opening his heart he tries getting everyone to open their heart a bit, because if they open their heart, then they together, he doesn't look for the evil or manipulation. That's not what he meant to Kyoko. He looks for them to trust each other to get out of this killing game, and it's like, as much as I'm not going to talk about Danganronpa 3, here as much, this is what led him to be one of the most helpful people, most influential people in the series. Is that you see it in Danganronpa 3, and you see it from this game too. That Makoto is he's just helpful. He's really endearing, to others. He has his moments and stuff, and like a lot of those moments are much better seen than like the clairvoyant or the swimming pro. Most than any of these other characters, he's one of like the 2 to 3 most helpful character companions in this series and in this game. And I really do like and acknowledge that. And I think a lot of people don't. I think he is one of the best characters in the series. And yet, it's clear that they do it right again with a character who is pretty similar to him in Danganronpa V3. This just and it goes out in the long run because both of these characters have a shining moment in the final trial. And oh my god, it's just beautiful. It's something to look forward to. So, other than that, while this isn't Danganronpa V3 lengths long, I don't even think fucking Omori links long and whatnot. Maybe close to Omori and whatnot. But like, this is one hell of a game. And I'm so mad at myself for treating it wrong. So like, if I had to say the most developed character in this entire series and whatnot, if I had to say what I think like made me just so happy for them in this entire series, thanks to this game, I have to say that Shuichi Saihara V3 is the most developed character in the series. Just because of the single game. Maybe like not like maybe I'm lying there. Maybe it's like thanks to Dawn of V3 it helps open up a lot more characters from the older like games and whatnot. But in this game of it themselves, Shuichi's the most developed. And it's like it's so beautiful seeing that pathway that these characters can get in the series. And I'm really happy. Like, if the series ends, then okay. Alright? It's just okay. I still want to see what happens between Makoto and Kyoko. I feel like they're happy with the together, being lovable to each other romantically, you know. That's just me though. I know a lot of people don't believe in that, which is why I want Spike Chunsoft to prove them wrong. I want that word of God to say it, because people aren't going to believe it, you know, because people don't post links and whatnot. Word of God, because I believe that's canon. I want them to prove y'all non-believers wrong. That just might be me being so lovable to the ship, but it's just because I love these characters. Okay? I see why they would like each other a lot. They give a lot of hints to each other. Okay? This just seems the most possible. Alright? It just seems the most possible. Other than that, I'm glad I came back to this game, you know. It's just in this really neat game and whatnot, and I really do enjoy it. So yeah, I am feeling a light to decent 8 on Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Transition, did you love this? Did you love this album? Did you give it a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What should I review next? Let me know in the comments down below, you know. I really do enjoy these likes, you know, these videos. One of them just reached 1,600 views and whatnot, which is huge for this channel. So thank you all so much for coming by on this lovely day in this lovely bunker. Arkhaotic, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, forever.